The house was too quiet when I returned. I had been gone only 5 days, long enough for the world I trusted to rearrange itself without hesitation. The lights were on. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside, suitcase still in hand, and suddenly every voice in the room fell silent. My wife stood in the center of the living room, her parents on one side, her brother and his wife on the other. My daughter, the one who used to run into my arms, stood next to her mother as if she'd been training her entire life for this single betrayal. No one greeted me. No one asked about my trip. Just eyes, cold, expectant, as if they were ready for the execution they'd rehearsed. My daughter was the first to speak. "Dad," she said, her voice steady, "your time is over. Mom is happier with her new boyfriend now." Her mother did not deny it. She watched me like a surgeon studying the body she was about to cut open, clinical and eager. I didn't yell. I didn't ask questions. I only stared at the man standing slightly behind them, a stranger in a jacket I once owned. His posture casual, his smirk confident, as if my life had been conveniently replaced in my absence. My daughter repeated her line, almost like it had been rehearsed. "Mom is happier now." There was pity in her tone. No, correction, superiority. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't fight. I didn't say a word. I simply turned around and walked out as their whispers collided into a single, triumphant chorus. Outside, the cold air hit my face like a warning. The night swallowed me whole. And in the silence that followed, I felt my heartbeat steady. Not broken, not scared, just aware. The world I knew had just ended. And yet somehow, the story had only begun. I stayed away that night. A hotel, a glass of water I didn't drink, the city lights that flickered against the window like a pulse I was no longer part of. 118 missed calls. Not from my wife, not from my daughter, from my wife's family. Each voicemail a different stage of panic. Fake apologies, emotional leverage, manufactured guilt. They thought I would return begging. They thought I would crumble. But betrayal has a strange way of disinfecting the soul. It burns the weakness out. I replayed the scene in my head. My daughter's words. My wife's silence. The stranger's confidence. Pieces began to click. The sudden withdrawals from our joint account. Her sudden refusal to talk about the future. The new perfume that didn't belong to her. The change was there long before I saw it. I simply didn't want to believe. Love makes you blind. But betrayal heals you fast. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I only watched the phone light up again and again, each call reminding me that something was unraveling without my interference. They thought I would fight to stay. They thought I was weak. But I had one thing none of them prepared for: control. And more importantly, silence. I started digging, not with anger, not with desperation, with precision. Phone records, legal documents, asset statements, names I recognized from conversations I wasn't supposed to overhear, screenshots she didn't know I had. Proof is beautiful when you know where to look. The affair wasn't new. It wasn't sudden. It was systematic. Messages exchanged late at night. Money transferred quietly. Plans made for a future that didn't include me. But the deeper I searched, the more obvious it became. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a conspiracy. Her family was involved, her brother, her parents, even my daughter. They thought I had nothing. They didn't know what I'd been preparing quietly all along. A second life, a second home, a second account. Switzerland, my villa, my escape plan, my insurance. The one thing my wife never thought I was smart enough to keep hidden. They wanted to push me out, so I let them. I disappeared from the narrative they had rehearsed. I watched the world they built start to collapse around them. And when they finally called again, not to taunt, but to beg, I didn't answer. I waited. Patience isn't weakness, it's strategy. Thanksgiving morning, the phone rang again. Not my wife this time, my daughter-in-law. Her voice was sharp and shameless. "If you want to join Thanksgiving, come wash the dishes," she snapped, like she was disciplining a servant. I replied with one word: enjoy. She hung up. 10 minutes later, I sent one photo. The villa, the terrace overlooking the mountains, the luxury they never imagined I owned, the life I built in silence. And then I waited. The phone rang 71 times. Voicemails this time weren't demands. They were panic. Questions. Where are you? What house is that? Why didn't you tell us? They wanted me back, now, not because they missed me, because they needed me, because the man they chose wasn't enough, because the fantasy they built began to crack when reality shifted. I listened to every voicemail without blinking. Every apology tasted like cheap wine spilled on a white carpet. I didn't go home. I didn't answer their messages. I didn't fight for a place I no longer wanted. Instead, I sent one final text to my wife. The house is in your name. The bank account is empty. The man you chose can carry the weight you dropped. No emotion, no threats, no anger, just truth. The kind that destroys quietly. I heard she found the financial statements later. The papers proving everything was mine. The recordings, the legal documentation. I didn't hear her scream, but I imagined the silence that followed. The collapse of her plans. The realization that she had played the wrong man. I spent Thanksgiving alone. Not lonely, not abandoned, free. My phone buzzed again that evening. A final message from my daughter. "Dad, come back." I stared at the screen for a long time. Not with regret, but clarity. They finally saw the truth. I wasn't the one who lost everything. I replied with 2 words. "Oh, was." The last they will ever get from me. Too late. And I turned off the phone. The mountains outside were silent, peaceful, beautiful. And for the first time in years, so was I.